Good morning, everybody. Please, again, welcome to this second meeting on the Blue Road to COP26. I hope you're all doing well while we wait for a few more to log on of the participants. My day at least started very well as I received my first dose of vaccine this morning. And I feel really lucky and humble to have been given that. And I hope that all people all over the world soon can access their vaccines too. And of course, it will be wonderful to see this power of innovation and collaboration to tackle climate change as well. And that is something that we're going to discuss today on this second meeting on the Blue Road to COP26. My name is Erik Erski. I'm heading the ocean work at the UN Global Compact, and it's my honor to introduce today's moderator. Please welcome Special Advisor Ocean, UN Global Compact, Mr. Sturla Henriksen. Sturla, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Erik. Excellencies, distinguished guests, dear friends, it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to this high-level meeting on catalyzing the ocean climate ambition loop towards COP26. This meeting serves as a key milestone on the Blue Road to COP26, conducted by the UN Global Compact Ocean Action Platform to assess how we can take action and advance global climate goals through harnessing ocean-based solutions. Today, we will hear from global leaders from governments and businesses on the rapidly evolving policies, business actions, approaches to ocean management, and innovations that can advance the solutions needed. To provide introductory remarks, it is my great pleasure to introduce a true leader in raising the ocean climate nexus on the global agenda, the Honorable Mr. John Kerry, Special Presidential Envoy for Climate for the United States. So I would like now to kindly ask all other panelists to now turn their cameras and microphones off. And I would like to remind panelists that they will be instructed and welcomed when to come back on the screen. So, Mr. Kerry, the screen is yours.
Well, Your Excellencies, all thank you. Friends, I'm delighted to be here with you. I want to thank the UN Global Compact and the UNFCCC the High-Level Champions for hosting this very important event on the need for climate ambition, yes, but also the role of the ocean-based climate solutions. On the eve of this World Ocean Day, let me underscore that the climate crisis is an ocean crisis, and that ocean stewardship and climate stewardship are precisely two sides of the same coin. It's great to see all of you gathered here to press this issue. And there are new allies increasingly connecting the ocean challenge and the climate crisis, and everybody together working towards a future for our ocean, which is also the future for our planet. And that is one that is biodiverse, free from carbon pollution, and resilient to the impacts of climate crisis. Now, as we know beyond doubt, the vast expanse of ocean on our planet is actually increasingly threatened. Something that many people sort of find hard to believe. Oh my God, the ocean is so big, it's impossible for some little something I put in it to have an impact. But believe me, we all need to believe that, because life on this planet depends on a healthy ocean. It regulates our climate, it generates half of our oxygen, and provides food and livelihoods for billions of people around the world. The harsh reality is that we can't protect the ocean without working to keep the goals of the Paris Agreement within reach. So I want to stress this: we cannot be ocean leaders without adopting the highest possible climate ambition, both at home and across international fora. And the ocean is depending on us to eliminate the carbon pollution that is causing ocean acidification, ocean warming, and the cascade of profound impacts that are changing life in the ocean and our oceans worldwide. The chemistry of the ocean is now changing both faster and more than it has in millions of years. And in addition, we have a lawlessness on the high seas still, with huge fishing fleets far from home, engaging in illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing. And all of that is making a mockery of the very notion of sustainability. So I'm pleased that after 4 years of inexcusable, reckless absence, the United States has put forward a goal for the Paris Agreement to reduce our net greenhouse gas emissions by 50 to 52%. And that is consistent with our aim to keep the temperature increase of 1.5 degrees as the limit, alive as a possibility. I'm also pleased that our submission recognizes front and center the importance of ocean-based, nature-based solutions to the climate crisis. And that brings me to my second point. Nature-based solutions are a key to our ability to win the battle of the climate crisis. And there's not a bigger or more critical nature-based solution or possibility than the ability to deal with the oceans. Given the ongoing discussions of the International Maritime Organization, let me emphasize one prime example. The international shipping sector. Left by itself, that sector, if it were a country, would be the 8th largest emitter in the world. And those emissions are rising. Last week, we announced that we're co-leading the zero emission shipping mission, part of Mission Innovation, to help us reach the critical benchmark where ships that are capable of running on zero carbon fuels will make up at least 5% of the global deep sea fleet within this decade. We've also committed to work with countries in the IMO to adopt a goal of zero emissions from the sector by 2050 and to lay out a plan for achieving that. So we call on countries around the world to join us, to join this. Everyone should be high ambition and to push for a clean transport sector. But this is only one example, as all of you know. The range of ocean-based solutions, from increasing offshore renewable energy to protecting and restoring coastal ecosystems that store carbon, all of these can help us keep the temperature goals within the reach of the Paris Agreement. And they also can help us build the resilience to the serious effects of climate that are already underway. Here in the United States, we have committed to conserve at least 30% of US lands and waters by 2030. And we're also recently pledged, along with the G7, to work to conserve or protect at least 30% of the global ocean by 2030, and to address climate change and to stop and reverse biodiversity loss. As you all know, there are now 3 proposals for maritime protected areas at Camelar. And the United States supports these, and we recently announced that we're co-sponsoring the WET-LC and East Antarctica proposals. So I want to underline my call for all Camelar members to adopt these proposals at the next meeting. My friends, as we are increasingly aware, this is the decisive decade for action. If we don't do what we need to do between 2020 and 2030, then you can't achieve 1.5 degrees and you can't achieve even net zero by 2050. It just doesn't work scientifically unless we have some miraculous discovery. The fact is that this decisive year, as we head down the road to COP26, has to include a strong ocean outcome in the COP decision. Limiting the global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees centigrade and creating resilience to climate impacts has to be the North Star for all of us. And this obviously does not apply only to governments. It's about leadership from the private sector, which today's event highlights. So I am filled with hope on the eve of this World Ocean Day. You cannot solve the crisis of climate without protecting the ocean. And you cannot meet the challenge of protecting our oceans without dealing with the climate crisis. They are inextricably linked, and their fate is our fate. And this is a critical time. We know the benefits of taking action are enormous. We also know the consequences of arrogance and indifference that keep us from doing so are self-destructive for all. COP26 is our last best chance to come together and get it right. The solutions are not out of reach. They're not pipe dreams. They are real. And it's not a lack of capacity that stands in the way. It's a lack of will. So in the months ahead, I look forward to working with all of you to protect our climate, our ocean, our biodiversity, our people, and to create the blue-green future that we all want and deserve. Let's get the job done. Thank you.
So thank you, Mr. Kerry. for your inspiring remarks and your continued leadership on these critical issues. May I also add, on a more personal note, that your advocacy and stewardship has served as an important inspiration for our work. So we are very happy to see you back in the ring. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
With a growing anticipation for COP26, there is an unprecedented sense of urgency for climate action across sectors and geographies. All stakeholders are being called upon to adopt credible climate plans. Governments, companies, and investors are ramping up efforts to fund and innovate solutions that support climate change, adaptation, and resilience, safeguard nature, and contribute towards inclusive development and a just transition to a net zero economy. While there have been encouraging trends, there is still a significant ambition gap to reach the goals of the Paris Agreement and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The recent Net Zero by 2050 report from the International Energy Agency showed that the path to net zero emissions is narrow and will require immediate and massive deployment of all available clean and efficient energy technologies. With a window of opportunity to limit global warming to 1.5 degree narrowing, this is undoubtedly a pivotal year for the climate action. The ocean and its industries have a clear and crucial role to play in implementing the transformative systems change needed in our global economy. So far on the Blue Road to COP26, we have convened relevant stakeholders to conduct deep dives into areas such as how we can finance ocean-based climate solutions, how we can anchor sustainable ocean business in science, and how we can reach a COP26 race to zero breakthroughs for international shipping. And this series of meetings aim to further cement the crucial role ocean-based solutions can play in delivering on the COP26 priorities. The overarching aim is to see growing incorporation of ocean-based climate solutions in countries' nationally determined contributions to help advance climate action and curb emissions. Each meeting also serves to provide input for a set of recommendations to be presented at COP26. Today, the focus of our session will be how governments and businesses can collectively take ocean climate action to the next level through a positive feedback ambition loop. And to further elaborate on how we can catalyze this ambition loop towards COP26, I'm delighted to introduce Ms. Sanda Ojiambo, CEO and Executive Director of the UN Global Compact. So please, Sanda, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Sturla, and welcome to you all who are here for this session. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my true pleasure to join you here today for this important milestone event on the UN Global Compact's Blue Road to COP26. And thank you to Secretary John Kerry for his powerful and inspirational remarks with a clear call to action for all of us. We know that the ocean is undoubtedly vital to the well-being and the prosperity of humankind. Maintaining a healthy and productive ocean is a fundamental precondition to meet all of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. The ocean is also essential to deliver on multilateral environmental agreements, in particular, the Convention on Biological Diversity and the Paris Agreement. We also know that ocean-based climate solutions could reduce the emissions gap by up to 21% to keep the temperature rise to no more than 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2050, as we must. And as such, the ocean's critical role in climate change mitigation and adaptation, as we heard from Secretary Kerry, should be integral to this year's COP26 considerations. In the global transition to a net zero resilient economy, low carbon maritime transport and sustainable seafood, offshore renewable energy, and nature-based ocean solutions represent key enablers. Now, scaling up these ocean-based solutions and the sustainable ocean economy will meaningfully contribute to the entire 2030 agenda. To catalyze and scale up ocean climate action, there is a need for both bold government policies and ambitious private sector leadership, which is what the UN Global Compact calls for in its work. Each time industry takes action towards a net zero carbon economy and increases business investments in climate solutions, this undoubtedly sends a strong signal from business to government in support of ambitious climate policy. I encourage governments to see this private sector initiative as a strong vote of confidence and to advance ambitious policies that will provide companies with the clarity and the confidence they need to unlock further investments in climate solutions. This is the ambition loop, a positive feedback loop in which bold government policies and private sector leadership mutually reinforce each other and together take climate action to the next level. For ocean business, from seafood to shipping, this means joining our business ambition for 1.5-degree campaign and setting science-based targets aligned with the 1.5-degree target. This can also include establishing corporate strategies that lay out much-needed pathways to 2030. It also means for business recognizing that healthy ocean resources, climate resilience, and adaptation are all fundamental to a company's ability to thrive in the future, and also taking action to enhance ocean resiliency by publicly joining our race to resilience. Businesses can also sign on to the UN Global Compact Sustainable Ocean Principles, highlighting their commitment to responsible practices to ensure a healthy ocean. This would entail sharing knowledge and relevant scientific data where appropriate to support the development of ocean management plans. Governments can match these bold signals in private sector leadership. In December, 14 heads of state belonging to the high-level panel for a sustainable ocean economy committed to sustainably manage 100% of the ocean area under their jurisdiction, guided by the Sustainable Ocean Plans by 2025. In so doing, they recognize that in order for the ocean to deliver on the 2030 agenda, a well-managed ocean is essential. Because indeed, this well-managed ocean can sustainably provide the growing population with food, energy, transport, and other opportunities for social development and economic growth. Tourism as well, to benefit all of society, and in particular, coastal communities. Sustainable ocean management plans driven by tools such as climate-smart marine spatial planning are also a critical mechanism for drawing further investment into sustainable ocean industries, providing certainty for ocean industries and ocean businesses to innovate. And lastly, the incorporation of ocean climate solutions into the government's nationally determined contributions, as we will hear more about today, sends a clear message on the importance of the ocean for delivering on the Paris Agreement. So from the UN Global Compact perspective, we're really pleased to join you today and look forward to the discussions around catalyzing the ocean climate ambition loop. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sanda, for these remarks, which highlighted very well the importance of collaboration between the private sector and governments to scale up ocean climate solutions. Indeed, the UN Global Compact Ocean Action Platform convenes stakeholders from businesses, governments, NGOs, and UN agencies who recognize that a holistic, multi-stakeholder approach is key to advance progress. For our next speaker, I'm pleased to introduce a representative from the government of Norway, a patron and strong collaborator of the Ocean Action Platform. Mr. Sveinung Rotevatn serves as a Minister for Climate and Environment of the government of Norway. So, Minister, I would like to ask you, as a member of the high-level ocean panel, and given your commitment to 100% sustainably managed ocean by 2025, to elaborate on how ocean management can unlock ocean climate solutions. Please, the screen is yours.
Thank you so much, Sturla. Excellencies, good morning and good afternoon to you all. As a partner to the UN Global Compact platform, it's a great pleasure for me to represent the Norwegian government at this important and very timely meeting indeed, pointing towards COP26 in November. We certainly welcome today's discussion, and we look forward to an important climate summit. The oceans provide opportunities for growth and for employment in a wide variety of activities, such as energy production, seafood, medicine, and transport. However, the world's oceans are facing significant challenges, such as the loss of biodiversity, plastic pollution, rising temperatures, warming, acidification. So building a strong and sustainable ocean economy based on preserving clean and healthy oceans with well-functioning ecosystems and enabling value creation through sustainable use is therefore among one of the government's most important tasks, both nationally and internationally. And we believe this will be essential, both for achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and very important for overcoming current crises and preventing future crises. The Norwegian government is working for increased international awareness of the importance of building a sustainable ocean economy based on sustainable use and protection of the marine environment and ecosystems. Back in 2018, our Prime Minister, Erna Solberg, took the initiative for the establishment of the High-Level Panel for a Sustainable Ocean Economy. The primary commitment of the member nations is to sustainably manage 100% of the ocean area under national jurisdiction, guided by sustainable ocean plans by 2025. The Ocean Panel has identified several actions to protect and restore marine and coastal ecosystems. And in that respect, we need to unite forces to increase the extent of critical ecosystems. This will benefit climate mitigation and climate resilience, while providing multiple benefits for livelihoods and for food security. Ocean-based solutions for emission cuts are substantial, and they need to be rapidly implemented using the full potential of a global sustainable ocean economy. Our response to climate change will require scaling up of renewable energy and offshore wind power, and this offers great opportunities for a growing industry. Hywind Tampen in the North Sea will be the world's biggest offshore floating wind farm. This Norwegian project wouldn't have been possible without strong climate policies, such as a carbon tax and being a part of the European emission trading system, and of course, his support from the state-owned enterprise Envoy. Zero-emission shipping is growing rapidly in Norway. The number of zero-emission ships in operation on our waters is growing year by year and almost week by week. The types of ships and operations which can introduce zero-emission solutions is expanding. Batteries, hydrogen, ammonia, and biofuels have been and are being introduced at a rapid pace. Norway is rich in natural resources, and we have a long tradition of managing these resources in a long-term perspective to the benefit of society. This approach has provided a basis for value creation in our ocean industries. And our integrated ocean management plans are a tool both for ensuring value creation and food security, and for maintaining the environmental value of Norway's seas and our oceans. These plans clarify the overarching frameworks and priorities for the management of Norway's sea and ocean areas. The management plans provide greater predictability, and they facilitate coexistence between industries that are based on the use of these areas and the resources to be found there. And the plans ensure a balance between different interests, and that all uses of the ocean are considered in an overall context according to plan. Norway has quite successful experiences with our integrated ocean management plans, or sustainable ocean plans, according to the terminology of the Ocean Panel. And we will be happy to share our experience with other countries in their follow-up on the Ocean Panel's commitment to develop sustainable ocean plans. The Norwegian government's goal is for our country to continue to be a leading ocean nation and to contribute through our experiences and solutions towards reaching the global development goals. Tomorrow, we will present a report that takes stock of what we have done so far. The report is called Blue Ocean, Green Future, and we will have an English edition ready in the near future. I invite the UN Global Compact to study the report and our achievements, and even more important, to inspire us to achieve more in building a sustainable ocean economy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister Rotevatn, for these important and interesting remarks. Norway is a small country in terms of population, but it's punching above its weight in ocean-related matters. So we all look forward to Norway continuing to advance the importance of the sustainable ocean agenda. Thank you so much for your contribution. So now I would like to invite the remaining panelists to turn on your cameras. And I would like to welcome to the screen for the second half of this high-level event, Her Excellency, Ms. Raychelle Omamo, Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs, Republic of Kenya. Mr. Thomas Thune Andersen, Chairperson for Orsted and Lloyd Register. Mr. Nigel Topping, High-Level Champions for Climate Actions with the UNFCCC. Ms. Algeria Abdul, Manager of Seedling, an environmental and social impact biotech company based in Malaysia. And Mr. Paulo Veiga, the Minister of the Sea for Cabo Verde. So please. Then I would like welcome to all of you, and thanks for attending this high-level conference. And I would like to firstly go to you, Your Excellency Raychelle Omamo. As part of the high-level ocean panel, Kenya has committed to 100% managed oceans by 2025, and it would be very interesting to hear you elaborating on how that will be translated into actual policy and actions, and how ocean management can help the private sector. Please, the screen is yours.
Excellencies, friends, and distinguished delegates, it gives me great pleasure to be part and parcel of this meeting this afternoon. It is clear to us that there's a growing threat to our oceans, which requires that we transform our relationship with them and that we empower people at the grassroots to rise up, protect our oceans, and change their lives. In Kenya, though we contribute only about 0.1% of total global emissions, we have made it our business to try and meet our obligations under the climate change agenda, and therefore we have updated our National Determined Contribution Plan, our NDC, under the Paris Agreement on Climate Change. And we've identified a number of priorities. Some of these priorities speak to those who are at the bottom of the pyramid. I think it is very important for us to understand that there must be a nexus between government, communities, and the private sector. It is this triangulation that will push the clean ocean agenda forward, that will provide innovative solutions to strengthen our communities, build resilience, create job opportunities, facilitate private sector, small industries for those who are the least financially sound. In Kenya, we have been trying to innovate in this respect. One of our leading flagship projects is the Mkoko Pamoja project, which is a project that is being managed by the government and local communities in the southern coast of Kenya. And what it does, it replenishes, replants mangrove plantations. And the thing about this project is that it is a community-based blue carbon credit project. This project has transformed the lives of communities there. It has provided them with job opportunities. It has enabled them to take their children to school, and it has enabled small businesses to begin to grow. What we now require the private sector, the corporate sector, is to engage with these kind of projects, to provide the funding, to provide the capacity building, to be able to provide mechanisms through which the private sector itself engages with communities. Let us not lose sight of the fact that we preserve our oceans for people. And the majority of people who live next to our oceans are the poorest, the most vulnerable. And it is them whose lives are being turned upside down by global warming and rising oceans. So what we are advocating today is that we must look at the issue holistically, and the private sector must be seen as a private sector from the bottom, from the micro enterprise to the huge corporation, and to try and see how we can form those linkages effectively to produce the turnaround in the health of our oceans and in the empowerment of our people. I thank you very much.
So thank you so much, Your Excellency, for these very interesting and thoughtful remarks. And you called for also the contributions from the private sector. And we have so far heard from governments championing the climate ocean nexus. And I would like to turn to a visionary leader of the private sector. Our next speaker is Mr. Thomas Thune Andersen, who serves as a chairperson for both Orsted and Lloyd's register. And Mr. Andersen, given your experience working with some of the leading ocean-based companies, could you explain to us what is a business case for a well-managed ocean? And how does the concept of a well-managed ocean inspire business confidence and drive investments needed? Please.
Thank you very much indeed. And it's an honor to be here, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies. I was reflecting on the word, the business case, and I think we have a tendency to start thinking around that in ways and traditional business terms and calculations and return on money and equity, etc. I really think that the businesses who will succeed and are part of the future are the ones who think about the business case in three different dimensions. Of course, the money, because there is something around return and the risks associated with it, but certainly also around the new opportunities which an ocean-based economy will give us. And thirdly, and maybe most important, about the purpose of the company. You know, we need to move away from the strict money side to kind of a balance sheet, which is a stakeholder balance sheet rather than just a balance sheet for the financial investors. So it has already been mentioned, the oceans are part of the solutions. And we have looked at the oceans as a victim of these things. We now need to look at the oceans as an active part of how we are trying to drive these things forward. For me, there's a big debate around the fact that we talk so much about the climate and the CO2, which is so hugely important. But we need in that equation to have biodiversity as an equally important part in this. So I think the business cases, as we talk about them, are both around some of the CO2 reductions and the biodiversity. And if we follow that, we need to ensure a world where we as businesses, but it is about being part of the bigger infrastructure, that we cannot allow a situation where there are singular stakeholder decisions. Because if we really truly believe in that these things have to be cross-functional and across, we need to look at an integrated ocean management. And that is trying to bring fishery, shipping, wind, tourism, resource, and so on across. And as a specific example, in some of the companies I'm involved in Orsted, for example, we have pledged, and we think there's a really strong business case in that, that for all future projects we make, we will also be biodiversity positive. Also on the projects that we already are in the progress with, if we can so do so. With Lloyd's, for example, we are looking at the things that we talked about the maritime industry and how we introduce safe machinery and so on that can bring the CO2 reductions in there. But for me, the whole topic around safety is what, in a way, glues things together here. It's the safety of the oceans. It's the safety of the people that we employ, whether it is businesses or whether it is authorities, but it is the safety of people. It is the ability to introduce a stronger diversity into the people working with oceans. So the whole concept of safety, which we have worked with in industry for many years, is a very good vehicle to the way for us to look at how we also should manage these multi-stakeholder things. If I may touch upon one of the points that Your Excellency Omamo brought up about the mangroves. I think a lot of companies are now engaging in the thought about how do we actually pay back. Not only how do we reduce the CO2, but how do we actually create a payback? And some of that payback is into the nature-based targets. And that is where a very close cooperation between business and authorities so that these things become trustworthy, so that we can actually walk the talk together. But I think it is very exciting, and I think it's a question of raising the bar to say that we need to be even more ambitious. We need to introduce a payback as well as just a reduction. Time is scarce, and we don't really have the chance to negotiate with the planet to get more time. So we need to sit down now with all the initiatives that are there, whether that is the governments creating the NDCs, the National Determined Contribution, whether it's the ocean, spatial, many of the initiatives, but it is now that we need to sit together and to make the frameworks, which has also been touched upon, as a possibility for us. So as we move into the COP, I'm very excited on behalf of business that we are talking about both a green and also a blue COP. So if I may just finish on saying, on a maritime sense, that we have always talked about that people are oceans apart. I think our theme should be that we are oceans together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Andersen, for that and for making such a compelling and strong business case for a well-managed ocean to support a 1.5-degree future. I also note how you and Ms. Omamo are both underscoring the need for an integrated ocean management and a holistic approach. And I would also say that I liked very much your concept of a stakeholder balance sheet and the need to pursue a company purpose. I think it's vitally important as we go forward. Thank you so much again. Ahead of COP26, the private sector has a vital role, as Mr. Andersen just outlined, to play in building momentum around the shift to a decarbonized economy. We need to employ the full capacity and the insights, innovations, and investments of the business sector to succeed, and to connect the work of governments with voluntary initiatives of non-state actors, including the private sector. Member states have appointed 2 high-level champions. And our next speaker is Mr. Nigel Topping, one of the high-level champions for climate action with the UNFCCC. Mr. Topping, we are very pleased to have you join us here today. As a leader in mobilizing non-state actors, we are keenly interested in knowing more about your ambition for the ocean climate agenda in Glasgow. One of your main campaigns is the Race to Zero, and maybe you could tell us more about it and what has been the progress so far, please.
Thank you, Sturla. And of course, coming from the UK, which is an ocean country, and with my colleague, Gonzalo Munoz is from Chile, another ocean country. It's a real pleasure to join you. And set up nicely by Thomas, who says it's time to raise the bar. I mean, the role of the high-level champions is just to keep pushing everybody to raise the bar. And to do that if there's a mitigation in particular, we've launched this campaign, as you say, called the Race to Zero, which is a global campaign to rally leadership from non-state actors. So that's businesses, investors, cities, states and regions, so levels of government below national governments, also universities, schools, sports clubs, everybody who can mobilize. Already over 4,000 members of the race, over half of them are businesses and others of other types, who've committed to reducing their emissions in their full value chains to zero by 2050 at the latest. It has a sibling campaign called the Race to Resilience, which is aimed at reducing exposure to climate risk of 4 billion people around the world by 2030. The Global Compact, I should thank for being a great partner from the beginning, particularly the Global Compact's and Business for 1.5 campaign is one of the key ways that businesses can join the Race to Zero by setting science-based targets. So partly what the Race to Zero is about is just getting a mass of non-state actors committed to zero, to send a strong signal to governments to drive that ambition loop that we heard about earlier. But we're also then working in a more granular level, sector by sector, to define the pathways and reach tipping points so that we get to the implementation of solutions at scale in this decade. And we think of that in terms of the first tipping point being a tipping point of ambition. We have more than 20% of the world's telephony companies committed. We have more than 20% of the world's asset managers committed. We haven't reached that tipping point for shipping or power yet. We're close to power because Orsted, very much in the race. We need more power utilities to join. We recently launched the Glasgow Finance Alliance for Net Zero to really try and mobilise finance, because all of these solutions need financing. Really good progress there. Now 160 asset owners, asset managers and banks, between them with $70 trillion of assets under management and balance sheets. So we should see a couple more breakthroughs there. But what we really need is to see the pace of change accelerate in the way that we have seen it in the power sector. We heard about from the Minister from Norway, there's the amazing innovations around renewable floating power that Orsted are driving. But also the electric vehicle sector, again, Norway's been a pioneer. I think more than half the cars bought in Norway are now electric vehicles. UK is now set a 2030 phase out targets, and we're seeing all of the private sector now moving towards sort of early to mid 2030s to fully deploy electric vehicles. But we've got more work to do in some of the key ocean sectors to make sure that the ocean community of businesses can play its full role, and that we're not relying on the ocean to keep on absorbing emissions whilst we're not doing our part to reduce them. So we need two main steps. We've got to reduce emissions. We know we've got to halve them by 2030, and we've got to reduce ocean and reverse ocean biodiversity loss. So we've got to get to that tipping point on offshore wind and zero emission shipping. As Secretary Kerry said, we now have alignment between the private sector and the public sector and committing to getting at least 5% of international ships to be zero carbon by 2030. That doesn't sound like much, but it's basically zero now. So that means that we've proved the technology and can really ramp up in the 30s. We also got to reverse the loss of blue carbon. And here I have to just repeat the message that this action on blue carbon ecosystems, salt marshes, mangroves, seagrasses, not only helps on mitigation, but is also helpful in terms of resilience. We're delighted that the Global Mangrove Alliance is one of the initiatives within the race to resilience, because those ecosystems don't just sequester more carbon per unit area than terrestrial forests, but also provide resilience against coastal inundation and storm surges. So today we'd really like to see all industries with a connection to the ocean stepping up and joining the race to zero and the race to resilience, so that by the time we get to Glasgow, we can rebuild on the milestone recognition of the ocean climate nexus in COP25 and make sure that we're reaching those tipping points in the key ocean industries in COP26, so that COP26 is seen as the COP of action and of global solidarity, or as my previous speaker said, of oceans bringing the world together, not separating them. Thank you, Sturla.
So thank you very much, Nigel, for your remarks and for the important work you are doing to connect the various stakeholders in this regard. And this was a clear call to action, and emphasizing, as you do, the need to see the pace of change accelerating, and that the upcoming COP in Glasgow should be a COP of action and solidarity. I think that ties it very well up on what should be the ambition for this COP. Thank you so much. Let's now go to a speaker with first-hand experience on implementing locally a promising ocean climate solution, and that is seaweed. Ms. Algeria Abdul, thank you so much again for joining us. I know it's late in the evening in Malaysia, where you are. Based on your experience working at Seedling in Malaysia, could you tell us about seaweed and how it can support small-scale businesses? How can ocean climate action happen on a local scale? Please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Starla. Hello, everyone. I am Algeria from Malaysia. So first of all, I think that everyone is already knows about seaweed. It is a group of algae that you guys can see with your naked eyes, and of course, live in the ocean environment. This seaweed it has a tremendous potential, especially it is used as food product, fertilizer, potential in biofuel, and of course, in capturing carbon. So how actually it can help to support the small scale businesses? Basically, there's already 100 to 1,000 farmers that we can find in the world, or maybe more than that. They are independently farming, which means they're already farming for a long, long time. The issue with this industry is that it is actually very labor intensive because there is no automation. The technology used is really poor because most of the work is still being done manually. Another issue with this industry right now is the issue with the middleman, which means there is a long process between the farmer itself, which is the primary producer, until it comes to the manufacturers or the farmers. So how we come in as a company that specializes in seaweed is that firstly, we increase the transparency between these different stakeholders. So we will become the linking bridge between the farmers and also the manufacturers, and also become the linking bridge between the scientific world and also the farmer itself, because we want to enhance their livelihood. Other than that, how we are doing this thing is that we help the farmers to grow more seaweed. And the way to do that is we improve the way they farm, whether it is using a fast-growing material, which is the seed material that has a high quality and also that it resists to the disease. This, of course, will translate to the better seaweed produce. Of course, it will promising a better income to increase the livelihood of the coastal community. As how can actually the climate action affect and be in this local scale? It's actually happened. Of course, that we know climate action, it happened because of the increase in the temperature that will causing a lot of problem, especially to our environment. It will cause the ocean acidification, fish migration, and also the coral bleaching. So in terms of seaweed, we see that this actually is a germ of the ocean because it has a lot of potential, but then we are focusing more on the land, but then we are not see the potential in the ocean, even though all of us know actually our ocean is made up 71% from the Earth's surface, which is actually more than half. So we need to go forward with this one. And also, because we know that seaweed has the potential in capturing the carbon. And this is, I think, is a good direction where we can move forward to tackle the issues. For example, actually, Seedling is working with a group of researchers for Ocean 2050, where this group, they are focusing to measure how many carbon that can be absorbed by seaweed. And yeah, it is a brilliant step to tackling the issue. So if I can make the technical team to share some slides so I can show to you guys how it looks actually the seaweed industry right now. Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure if you guys already see the slide. Yeah. So basically, this is the species that we are working right now, which is a red species. And because it is commercially farmed here in Malaysia due to the food sources. So this is, I just want to share how actually seaweed look, especially here in Malaysia. And the second slide, please. Yeah. So here is the main issue. How the industry is work like now. As you guys can see, it's really poor. The technology used is really low. And this is how we want to fill in the gap, to find the solution with the support of many different stakeholders, whether from the government or the private sector, to be together and increasing the seaweed industry to ensure that we can actually find a good solution. And the last, to increase the productivity and the livelihood of the community, especially in the coastal community. Yeah, that's it for me. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Algeria, for your passion and strong advocacy for the many benefits of seaweed. With many accessible applications to support sustainable development, seaweed is certainly an exciting, viable ocean-based solution, which we are also addressing with great enthusiasm and dedication in our Ocean Action Platform and the Safe Seaweed Coalition. So thank you so much and good luck with your further endeavors in Malaysia. Thank you. So now I would again thank the panelists for attending. Thanks for your very valuable and interesting and inspiring contributions. And now I would kindly ask you to turn your cameras off, because now I shall be pleased to welcome my very good colleague, Mr. Ignace Beguin, who is the lead for ocean and coastal zones with the UNFCCC High-Level Champions. Ignace, please, the floor is yours to provide some closing remarks and to send a clear call to action to conclude this meeting, please.
Thank you, Stjola. What a fantastic discussion we had today. To wrap up, I see a series of key enablers for ocean-based climate solution to scale up that have emerged from the discussion. First, we all agree that we need a wide-ranging political and societal recognition for the vital role the ocean can play in climate regulation, adaptation, and mitigation. We also hear clearly very well that we need a well-managed ocean. This well-managed ocean will also help increase public and private investment to build a strong, sustainable, and climate-smart blue economy. At the same time, adaptation measures need also to be identified and implemented urgently in coastal areas. Indeed, we know that even if we succeed in maintaining the temperature rise to 1.5 degrees, this will have major global effects, and we will need to adapt to a new reality, which is already impacting many of us. In the case of low-lying coastal nations, demonstrate that flooding-driven displacement and economic disruption is a present-day reality. Rising sea level are expected to place a profound toll on human life and assets globally, and it may also triggers humanitarian crises. So to tackle this major challenge, we need to work with nature. Nature, as it has always been, is our best ally. And as elaborated by Nigel Topping, at the High-Level Climate Champions, we've launched the Race to Resilience, the sister initiative of the Race to Zero, which aims to catalyze a step change in global ambition for climate resilience, putting people and nature first. And here, ocean ecosystems are playing a critical role in this race. And it also provides solutions. For instance, restoring the mangrove forest that offer protection from rising seas and storms is 2 to 5 times cheaper than building engineered structures like underwater breakwaters. But we need to mobilize many more companies on the issue of resilience and adaptation. To do so, it starts by building a common understanding. Companies need to better understand why resilience matters. Why should they protect marine ecosystems, and what are the financial risks of a dead oceans, and what are the co-benefits for their business and the people they are working with? I think this is one of the missions we have for Glasgow. Climate mitigation and adaptation are two challenges that we need to tackle simultaneously and all together. To do so, the Race to Zero and the Race to Resilience are providing the necessary pathways to deliver. So by joining the races as business, investors, cities, or region, you will help national governments in Glasgow to take the rigorous and immediate action needed to first halve global emission by 2030 and deliver a more healthier, fairer, and zero carbon world as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Ignace, for this very clear call to action. And thank you again to our outstanding presenters and panelists, and to all of you who have been attending this conference. Let me also apologize that the Prime Minister of Portugal and the Minister of the Sea of Cabo Verde were unable to attend. We hope to see them next time around. So stay safe and good luck to you all in your common endeavors on the road to COP26. Thank you.